Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Hello everyone and welcome to Ask Rob and Rob, the show where you get your questions in and we answer them. It's a simple format, but it's a popular format. That's why we've done so many of them now. And also, it's really, really easy to get your questions in. So, why hesitate? Let us answer them.
Yes, just give us a call, 013 808 00035, or you can head over to our website, propertyhub.net/ask, and leave us a message there. Get your question in. In fact, I think I can hear something ringing. Someone's doing it right now. Who's that?
Hi, Rob and Rob. It's Amy from Oxford. Thank you for such a helpful and engaging podcast. I just had a quick question around overpaying for property. My fiancé and I are first-time buyers, and we've been looking for our first home for over a year now. And a lot of the property that we've seen has had so much interest that it's gone to sealed bids and sold for $30,000 or more above asking. For comparison, we've been offering 5 to 10 above asking plus first-time buyer, and it's not really of interest. I was just wondering what your thoughts are on this. We're reluctant to overpay for fear that if we come to sell in 5 to 10 years' time, we either won't make that money back in a less heated market or we'll just essentially have lost out on a few years of capital growth because of that. My question is this: are we right to be cautious, or in this sort of market, is overpaying just what you have to do? I'd really appreciate any thoughts on that, and thank you so much for your help.
Thank you for your question, Amy. So it's challenging, right? I can understand why this is bothering you so much. And what is happening right now is not just happening in your area, it's actually happening across many parts of the country. But I'm going to challenge you a little bit here. And please don't take this as me telling you off or being stern. I think it's going to be really useful for you and for everybody else listening who's operating in this market. We've said on the podcast many times over the years that an asking price is not the value. It's just an asking price. And when we've said it in the past, we've meant that sometimes people put an asking price that's too high. And just because they put a high asking price doesn't mean that is the value. And sometimes you should pay less than the asking price. But in a hot market, the opposite can apply. And an estate agent can often underprice an asking price and they go for a lot more. Because the asking price isn't the value. The value is what the market is prepared to pay for an asset. And right now, people are prepared to pay more. So because people are prepared to pay more, that is the value. The estate agents got it wrong. It's not that they've overpaid. They've decided that that is the market rate for that property that they are prepared to pay, and the competition has drove it to that price point. That might make you feel uncomfortable. And I could completely understand why it would, because you've anchored yourself to a number, which is the asking price, and feel like you don't want to go above it too much. But the market is moving that fast right now that asking prices are becoming dated, and estate agents possibly aren't confident enough to keep putting the price up, or they know if they put a modest asking price or a low asking price, they're going to generate that much interest that they can possibly sell it for much more anyway. So it's either that they don't really understand the market, or they really do understand the market and they're whipping up a frenzy for that particular property. Either way, that is the current state of play. And you either have to get involved or decide it's not for you. But if you decide it's not for you, you'll then hope that the market settles and you can operate at a calmer period of the market. Now, a calmer period of the market will come. So easy, wait, right? Well, not necessarily. What if that market settles in a year and the market goes up another 10% in that year? Well, then if they're going for 30,000 above asking price now, it could be 10% plus another 30,000. Are you prepared to get involved in that market? Can you even afford to buy it when it's at that price? You might not be able to buy a property that you can right now in a year's time. What if it doesn't settle down for 2 years and the market's grown by 15 to 20% in 2 years? Well, then you're really in trouble. If this is your own home, which you said it is, and it's not an investment, then don't become too fixated on getting the best deal possible. In fact, become fixated on getting the best property for you now. And you know what? You might buy it and the market might settle the month after you buy it, and it might even dip a bit. Is that a bad thing? Well, no, because it's your home and it may settle and fall a little bit, but in 10 years' time, will the property be less than what you've paid for it? No, almost certainly not. Now, I can't promise you that, but if you look back at any period of history, through all the property data that's been recorded in the UK, property has always been higher 10 years after a certain date and time. So if you pick the top of a market, the worst time to ever buy, then fast forward 10 years, the properties are still worth more. So as it's your own home, I really wouldn't get too fixated on overpaying. Just enjoy the home and accept that this is the market right now. And you never know, it might carry on for a few years' time and your property is worth a lot more. But again, it shouldn't matter too much to you. It's your own home. I'm sure you'll feel good about it, but it doesn't really matter. Because if you go then buy your next property, they've probably all gone up about the same rate. And equally, if it falls a bit, they've all fallen about the same rate. So until you expand your portfolio and go beyond one property, it doesn't really matter that much. So Amy, I'm not saying be reckless and start going crazy and putting silly bids in, but I am saying just accept the situation and get yourself a property so you don't miss out. Because I'd hate for you to miss the boat. And I'd hate for you not to be able to get a property right now and be priced out the market. So best of luck, Amy. I know it takes a bit of bravery and it's not an easy market to operate in, but it's better to operate than sit by and watch.
Okay, we've helped a first-time buyer. Let's see if we can help an investor as well before we wrap up this episode. And hear from Paul.
Hi, Rob and Rob. It's Paul. Thank you very much for the podcast. I've used the podcast and Rob D's books. I've bought my first buy-to-let last year, and I've also bought one this year, which I'm renovating, ready to let out, and I'm also had an offer accepted on another one. So I've really accelerated my plans due to all the help you've given us. So thank you. 2 questions have I made. The first question is, I have bought a buy-to-let, and the property has increased by about £40,000. Would you suggest that I take out a remortgage and try and release some of the equity to put down for a new deposit on another house? Otherwise, it's going to take me such a long time to save up to get another one. So I was just wondering whether that's a good use of that equity in that house. And then the second question, if I may, is that with these buy-to-lets, I've got them on interest-only mortgages. I've just turned 51, and obviously those will have to be paid at some time in the future. The strategy I was going to apply was, obviously with the 18-year rule, was that the properties would increase in value, and at that point when they need to be paid, the mortgages, I was probably going to sell one property to hopefully pay for the rest of the mortgages. Is that the right strategy, or is it the case of putting some money aside to pay off in the future? Just wondering about your thoughts. So again, thanks very much for all your help. Really appreciate it.
Paul, well done. It sounds like you really have accelerated your plans. That is great. In terms of your first question, should you release that equity from the property that's increased in value? Well, of course, this should go without saying, but it completely depends on what it is that you're trying to achieve. If you did do it, and it sounds like you are in a kind of expansion phase right now, then that would be an entirely normal thing to do. It's very standard to use increases in equity, whether that's brought about by a rising market or a refurb or something else, and to generate the deposit for subsequent purchases. It's what investors do. So if that is what you want to do, then go for it. There's no rule that says you have to maximize everything all the time. So if you're happy with where you are and you don't particularly want to expand, then you're not doing anything wrong by not doing it. But you're right, saving up for a deposit does take a really long time. So if you can get some help from a rising market or get the reward from some hard work you've done, then why not? It's a great way of expanding your portfolio more quickly. In terms of your strategy when it comes to repayment, again, what you're proposing is very normal. Most investors in residential property have their mortgages on interest only. And thanks to the fact that the market in general rises over time, you don't know what it's going to do from year to year, but you can be pretty sure that over multiple decades, it's going to finish higher than it started. It means you can be pretty confident about doing exactly what you proposed and being in a position where if you've got a portfolio, you do just need to sell 1 or 2 properties to pay off the debt on all the rest. This is something that a lot of people miss. You'd be amazed by how many people are scared of interest-only mortgages because they feel like they're just kind of saving up a problem. It's like, well, I've got to pay these back one day, so I'm going to surely have to set aside all the rent and save up loads of money to pay those mortgages off. No, if you do have a portfolio, then you can do exactly what you're planning to do. Again, you don't have to do that. You might decide that you'd rather put the rent aside to pay off the mortgages as you go so you can keep all your properties, or so that you don't have to worry about paying the mortgages off if that is something that you're worried about. But in your case, Paul, what you're doing seems to be working for you and it sounds perfectly sensible. So this is an easy one. Just keep on going.
So good luck, Amy. Good luck, Paul. And thank you for your questions. And thank you for listening. We do appreciate it. We'll be back on Thursday with the Property Podcast. And then, of course, same time, same place next week for Ask Rob and Rob. So 2 wonderful future events to look forward to. We'll see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.